Justice Sistani is our marshal and is already nervous that the 4 o'clock deadline is going to be reached. You'll forgive me today to just exceed it for a bit. The Chief Justice, my colleagues, and all present here, I'm deeply honored. Mr. Shanti Bhushan is here. Professor Bakshi is here. Chief Justice Shah is here. I could not have asked for a greater honor of these stalwarts being here. I had first written out a speech thanking those who made it possible for me to be where I am. That ran into 6 typed pages. Some of them are here, some elsewhere. They include Amma, my sister and my niece, sisters-in-law, brothers-in-law, aunts, uncles, nephews, nieces, cousins, numerous other relatives and friends, and above all, Usha, all of whom have been incredibly close and supportive. To each of them, I wish to say, I am deeply grateful for the various ways they've enriched my life and helped me navigate it. Among those who are not with us and whose lasting influence in my life I gratefully acknowledge are my father Srinivasan, my uncle Vishwanathan, my mother-in-law Indira Ramanathan. In May 1987, GR, who was then the ASG of India in the Supreme Court of India, took me on as his junior, and I moved from Chennai to Delhi. The 2-year stint with him was an incredible period of learning. His razor-sharp mind, ready wit and humor, remarkable advocacy skills, and solid grounding in the basics of all branches of law helped me learn about the law and the court. I am eternally grateful for that, and not a day passes without recalling him. Professor Lotika Sarkar, whom we all call Ma'am, Usha and I were fortunate that Ma'am spent the last 4 years of her life with us. She was the epitome of an ethical life and continues to be a huge inspiration. Shortly before the lunch recess on 17th February 2020, the Chief Justice of India's letter dated 14th February 2020, communicating the transfer proposal, was delivered to me in my chamber. In the early hours of that day, our pet Labrador, Saki, literally a companion to the entire family, who gave unconditional warmth and joy for over 11 years, breathed her last. The reason Saki came into our lives was Ma'am. Saki remained till the last a strong, sagely, and pure presence. I can confidently claim to be very close to many of the judges here on the dais. There are judges in the audience and elsewhere in Delhi and India who helped me in various ways in traversing the difficult path of judgeship. It is only paucity of time that prevents me from naming them. I am grateful to each of them. Every judge of this court has a mini establishment of over a dozen persons without whom no work can get done. The backup support is by over 1,200 employees of this court. If I have been able to function effectively as a judge of this court, it is because of these people. A big thank you to Monica Vadva, Dinesh Nayal, Rajesh Malhotra, Raj Dasji, Tarun Rana, Devendra Singh Mehta, Gopal Prasad, Jagdish, Sanjay Kumar, Marimuthu, Deep Chand, Ram, whose halwa is to die for, Tara, and my Sarathi, Inder. I also thank each and every employee of this court at all levels. I've had numerous law researchers and interns over the years. I thank each one of them as much as they do my current ones, Rohini, Avi, and Oindrila. I have to thank the Delhi High Court Bar for accepting me, an advocate and record in the Supreme Court, as one of their very own. I find it hard to describe the unstinting affection I have received from you, old and young, senior and non-senior, over these 14 years. You may not know it, but you have patiently handheld me, guided me across rough terrains, and encouraged me to stay the course. I cannot thank you enough. What I now have to say is for the junior bar, which I find to be, by and large, well-informed, articulate, and unafraid. I believe in their hands the future of this court's bar is secure. This court's bar is a kaleidoscope of lawyers who speak several tongues, hailing from different regions: East, Northeast, South, Central, West, and North India. The bench too reflects in some degree this diversity of cultures, languages, food habits, and the bonhomie and fraternity that binds all of us. That is the true strength of this court. By and large, the class, community, and caste factors have not been allowed to alter this. As I dare to hope, it will never. That is the promise we must make to ourselves. The key word here is fraternity. As Baba Sahib Ambedkar put it, without fraternity, equality and liberty would be no deeper than coats of paint. Over these years, I have realized that it is not enough for lawyers and judges to speak about constitutional values. It is essential to imbibe them. The constitutional values of equality, non-discrimination, dignity, prohibition of untouchability, inclusivity, plurality have to be practiced continuously, both at a personal level and a professional level. How the bar and the bench treat both lawyers and clients and employees, not just of the court, but of the bar associations, the shops, the kiosks, the court complex, of different languages, castes, classes, religious identities, gender, sexual identities, will be a measure of how democratic the court space is. Arming oneself with law and being thoroughly professional in what one does in the court and outside earns the respect of our peers and the bench. I find it useful as a judge if pleadings contain facts stated simply and clearly, but without embellishment and adjectives. Deep reading of case law and statutes helps formulate propositions of law. When the lawyer first herself drafts and then argues the petition, the articulation is uncluttered. Orientation has a role to play. I owe my human rights and law and poverty orientation largely to the years of work with the Supreme Court Legal Services Committee. It was professionally satisfying. Now some random thoughts. The act of judging takes place in a space that is both mediative and meditative. The former is an acknowledgement of the primary function of judging, dispute resolution. The latter, the meditative space in the constitutional court adjudication, has, at least for me, two guiding principles: the Gandhian talisman of the weakest person and Ambedkar's adoption of Grote's constitutional morality. If in this meditative judicial space I allow my judicial instinct to be so guided, the result, I believe, would answer the constitutional vision of justice. In this vision, courts are not merely places where law is practiced and produced. They are also spaces where the constitutional values are tested. I don't subscribe to the views that judges perform a divine function. To me, jettisoning the prefix lordship and even honorable is not a fetish. It is an acknowledgement of how mortal and temporal, and I may venture to add, fallible we are. There is a distinction between neutrality and impartiality. They are not antithetical. Impartiality is non-compromisable for a judge. It is an essential attribute. On neutrality, the Constitution, in my view, requires the judge at all levels to be able to discern the weak from the strong litigant in terms of their capacities to access justice and lean on the side of the vulnerable in order to attempt to achieve equality of arms. Judging is, without question, not an easy task. It involves a daily onslaught of negative emotions brought to the court by anxious and often frustrated litigants seeking justice. It is possible that many of the physical ailments of judges are on account of having to withstand the negative energies. Maintaining equanimity and calm through the day, case after case, is indeed a big challenge. Judging can be enlightening. It demands that you delve deep into the minds and lives of people across a wide cross-section of society, sometimes very different from your own. It can also be deeply humbling. Someone asked me not long ago, after nearly 14 years on the bench, things must be clearer in black and white. I found I could not agree. That the color that the judge of many years best identifies with is gray. I am often asked, are judges under pressure? My answer to that is not unless they acknowledge it. How different is the court since I joined the bench 14 years ago? The bench strength has not particularly increased. It crossed 40 briefly on one or two occasions. We'll be down to 33 in a few days. Pendency has inevitably increased. The buildings have expanded. Paperless courts are an integral feature. No paper cause lists. A state-of-the-art Block C, where the curtains lifted, justice can be seen to be done. A younger, vibrant, and more diverse bar. An exciting variety of work which makes demands on the judge's mental agility. Work-wise, more attention is needed on the scientific management of caseloads, of space, of litigant-friendly procedures, and creative approaches to court architecture. There is much scope for enhancing transparency, accountability, and access to justice. So too in the area of legal education and training. There are some needs common to both lawyers and judges. Intellectual stimulus is one. It is only after becoming a judge you begin to realize that there is even less time than as a lawyer for doing serious reading of both legal and non-legal literature. Having a forum to meet, discuss, and exchange ideas is helpful to both judges and lawyers. Fortunately, the judicial academies provide that platform for judges to some extent. Till a few years ago, acceding to the request of some of us, the National Judicial Academy organized a meet on High Court's contribution to the development of the law. Justice Midha would recall that. For lawyers too, study circles and discussion groups in a somewhat informal setting are useful. The Friday meeting group that I initiated in 1998 in my lawyer days in the Supreme Court has recently been revived and is admirably run by my friend Seshagiri Rao. Films reflecting real events, having relevance to issues confronting the legal system, can form powerful tools of communication. This is my experience from screening films in my chamber for colleagues as a lawyer, and here in the High Court Judges Lounge for my colleagues and their law researchers. I have tried to repeat that practice for panel lawyers of the High Court Legal Services Committee. The use of multimedia, audio-visual material is equally an effective means of teaching, as I found when I taught credit courses in 2 national law schools in the past few years. The future of law, the legal profession, and courts is among the many subjects that I am interested in. I was part of a 5-member committee of the High Court judges, Justice Enlaw was part of that examined the issue of collection, preservation, retrieval, and proof of electronic evidence. We submitted a report in December 2018. That experience alerted us to the urgent need for the courts to address this issue. What keeps me going as a judge? Those moments when I can bring to an end a 2 or 3-decade-old case, get an 80-year-old pensioner relief, long overdue retirement benefits to the legal representatives of a deceased bus conductor, a wrongly dismissed CRPF Jawan, reverse a wrong conviction or a wrong acquittal. The cry for justice is loud in every roster, in every court. What I felt every day as a judge, and still feel, is that it never seems enough. The most moving moment as a judge was in this very court sitting where I am today, when on 2nd July 2009, Justice A.P. Shah and I delivered our judgment in NAS Foundation. Even as we held that consensual same-sex between adults in private was not a crime, the relief that swept through the courtroom amongst those waiting to hear the verdict was palpable. Many broke down here in front of us. At that moment, we knew that something irreversible had happened. Now about my transfer and what exactly happened on 26th February 2020. There has been some confusion about what transpired, and I thought it should be cleared. What the 5-member collegium sends to the central government is a recommendation that a judge of a high court should be transferred to another high court. The judge concerned is not at this stage under orders of transfer. That happens only when the recommendation of the collegium fructifies into a notification. In my case, the collegium's decision was communicated to me by the CJI on 17th February by a letter which sought my response. I acknowledged receipt of the letter. I was then asked to clarify what I meant. As I saw it, if I was going to be transferred from the Delhi High Court anyway, I was fine moving to the Punjab and Haryana High Court. I therefore clarified to the CJI that I did not object to the proposal. An explanation from a transfer reached the press via Manish Chibber's article in the print on 20th February, quoting sources in the Supreme Court Collegium, confirming what had been indicated to me a couple of days earlier. 26th February 2020 was perhaps the longest working day of my life as a judge of this court. It began at 12:30 a.m. with a sitting at my residence with Justice Bambani under the orders of Justice Sistani to deal with a PIL filed by Rahul Roy seeking safe passage for ambulances carrying the injured riot victims. When I received a call at my residence from the lawyer for the petitioner, I first called Justice Sistani to ask what should be done, knowing that the Chief Justice was on leave. Justice Sistani explained to me that he too officially was on leave the whole of 26th February and that I should take up the matter. This fact is stated in the order passed by the bench and after the hearing. Later that day, upon an urgent mentioning as the de facto Chief Justice's bench, Justice Talwant Singh and I took up another fresh PIL on the Chief Justice's board, seeking registration of FIRs for hate speeches. After the orders passed on that day, the above two PILs remained on the Chief Justice's board. That, I hope, helps clear the air and the confusion. The notification issued close to midnight on 26th February 2020 did two things. First, it transferred me to the Punjab and Haryana High Court. Second, it appointed me to a position from where I can never be transferred or removed and in which I shall always be proud to remain. A former judge, arguably, of the best high court in the country, the High Court of Delhi. Welcome.